Next, Gayle McCormick, who is Pattonville. Unfortunately, Gayle passed away earlier this year. Johnny, do you want to come up and say a brief word about her? Johnny King knew Gayle very, very well, knew Don Pietromonaco very well from those days. Let me get the award for you.
Thanks, John. Oh, that's fantastic. That's beautiful. Thank you. That's beautiful. That's Gayle in her prime for sure. For those who don't know me, my name is Johnny King, and Gayle, along with another man who's being inducted tonight, Don Pietromonaco, Johnny Rabbit, we were a trio. We all spun out of St. Louis, and our careers paralleled each other, but it all began with Don Pietromonaco. Gayle, in her prime, could outdo anybody. If you've ever seen Gayle in person in those days, or even in the 70s, she could outdo Aretha Franklin. Doesn't make any difference if she was on the stage with Tina Turner, Jackie DeShannon, Dusty Springfield, or anybody else. Gayle McCormick could outdo all of them at one time. And she could do anything. She could do the screaming that Aretha would do, and she could do the soft stuff that Dusty Springfield would do. That was her beautiful, beautiful part. And at one point in time, like I said, we all were here in St. Louis. In 1965, Don and I became friends, and Gayle came along with the group that were there at the time called the Glassmen. Well, whatever the case, we all worked together through the years. I spun off and started my career in 1967, and in 1969, I went to Little Rock at 50,000 watt KAY, and I was music director there. And I got a call one day from a guy who said, I was told to call you. Your friend Gayle McCormick told me to call you. And I said, I wanted to hear from you, because I heard she was out in California. He says, she's not only here, she's with that group called Smith, and they just recorded a new album, and she's got a new single that's going to come out of the album, and the single is called Baby It's You. And so here we were, 2 years later. We had been with Rabbit in 1967 in the Batcave. Here I am as music director at a 50,000 watt station, and Gayle is making records, and I'm playing them on the radio. From there, our careers paralleled each other, but again, they all spun off from Don. And through the years, we kept in touch. Gayle was one of the true loves of my life. We met when she was 15, and she passed away this past March. But even then, whenever I saw her for the last year and a half or 2 years that I helped her through her problems with cancer and with emphysema, with some diabetes, with osteoporosis, with she also had debilitating version of arthritis. Didn't make any difference. When I saw her, who I saw was that 15-year-old girl that I first loved back all those years ago, 51 years ago. And so it was with a big, heavy heart that she passed away this past March. And not only myself, but everybody else lost one of their best. But I want you to do this. I have a website called johnnyking.net. And on the website, my goal is to pay tribute to those people who through my life and through my career have touched me and made a difference in my life. And this is my way of giving back to them. People like Dick Clark, Johnny Cash, Rick Nelson. I knew them all, Casey Kasem. They were all friends at one point in time. And so was Don Pietromonaco. And there's a great, great story, and we'll talk about that later on, that I have on Don on there. And also, there's a 1966 air check, which is on there too. We'll talk about that later. But for Gayle, for my 35th anniversary, I put together, and there's a preface that'll tell you why, I put together a tribute for her. And so therefore, the bottom line is, the tribute, if you go and see that on my website, you'll understand how our lives went together, and you'll also see the pictures and the stories that I have and nobody else does. And I wanted to pay tribute to Gayle and to Don, just so you could, in the future, know how beautiful, how wonderful they were. And so I sincerely thank you. This is a humbling experience. I thank you. I thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for all the years you listened to us on the radio. Like I always said, if it wouldn't have been for you, there wouldn't have been any need for me. So God bless you, and thank you. Thank you. Thanks, John. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Hey, thanks.
We have here tonight Dina Pietromonaco Dushek, if I pronounced that right, the daughter of Don Pietromonaco. Please come on up and accept on his behalf this award for him. And as a special surprise, thanks to Tim Neely, who is our friend who's a KXOK archivist, historian, trivia impersonario, whatever you want to call him. We have the Johnny Rabbit hat here. The original Johnny Rabbit hat is also making its way upstage.
Wow. Thank you, everybody. My dad is no longer living, as most of you know. He's been gone almost 20 years, but he would be really happy to receive this award. He was very special to me as a daughter. I was very young when he was on the radio, but we listened and we loved him. He was very special to me. He was my daddy. And I'm glad that you all made him special too, because he meant the world to me. And I thank you for making him as special as he was. I really appreciate that, and I know he would too. Thank you.
This will be brief, but if you go to the website, you'll hear all the stories about Johnny and myself. Don was a good friend, and he's on there, along with his 1966 Pepsi demo that he did, which is celebrating its 50th year this year. And that's on the website also in its entirety, plus how it got there, all those things that were going on in 1966. So for Don and Gayle and Dina, to all of you, we thank you for that. It's a very humbling experience and a very proud experience. Don and Gayle would be overjoyed at this point in time. And it's thanks to you that we're standing here right now. So God bless you all. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you. Thank you. I gotta touch the hat.
Hold on, I have to touch the hat.
Sure. He does.
All right, so those are our inductees. Let's give another round of applause to all the inductees.